Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Simultaneous operations on the fronts have begun. Panic rise is in Moscow. Operations have been launched in key areas on the eastern and southern fronts. Sounds of the destruction of Russian military equipment echo in the Ukrainian land and in the skies. Course of the war is shaped by the HIMARS missile systems from the United States. While all remedies are running out on the Russian side, they are trying their last chances on the Eastern Front. But according to what has been said, Ukraine is preparing for the biggest ever operation on the Southern Front. Ukraine is accelerating its operations thanks to the aid it has received from a large and powerful country like the United States. Operations continue with American HIMARS missile systems on many fronts. Many moves are getting stronger thanks to these missile systems, which are actively used both in the south and east of the country. Ukraine could launch the biggest operations ever in the south at any time. Steps taken show the impression of this. Explosion sounds were heard again from the critical bridge in the south. As it is known, this bridge is the Antonovsky Bridge, which is trying to provide logistics flow by the Russian troops. This time, Ukrainian troops hit this bridge on the Dnieper River using HIMARS missile systems. Moves continue to prevent the bridge from being used by Russian troops. As Russia continues to take damage to such critical supply points, its army will suffer from more military equipment shortages at the front. This means that if the Ukrainian troops launch a strong operation, the Russian soldiers will be left defenseless at the front and have to withdraw from many areas. These moves of the Ukrainian army signal that they will launch a major operation in Kherson in the south at any moment. In this region, where mutual attacks have continued for a long time, another signal about the possibility of starting a major operation was given by the President of Ukraine, Zelensky. Zelensky, with his remarkable statements, stated that good news is expected from the front and did not give details. According to estimates, one of the most important battles will take place in this region, which has become a key point in the war. We can say that the fate of the country that can gain superiority at the front will be determined. As it is known, Kherson, which is a key region, is of critical importance for both countries due to its many important features, such as border with Crimea and its passage to various fronts. If Ukraine gains superiority in this region, the possibility of making moves towards Crimea will increase. This will completely change the course of the war. Operations were launched on the Eastern Front as well. Russian forces have been trying to advance in Bakhmut on the Donetsk front in recent days. Experts reported that the military value for this region is low, but it is critical due to its location. Because for the side that has full control of this area, the nearby areas will also become an open target and the war will turn in favor of the side that has been able to control it. It is also stated that Russian troops in this region are supported by Wagner mercenaries. However, since the progress of the Russian army is quite slow, it seems very difficult to gain full control. Tensions are rising in Moscow. While the sounds of explosions are increasing day by day in Ukraine, many of them come from Russian military equipment. Many pieces of Russian military equipment are located on the territory of Ukraine. In just 2 hours during the day, the Air Force of the Ukrainian Armed Forces announced that the Russian forces launched over 24 Shahed-136 kamikaze drones. Air Force of the Ukrainian Armed Forces announced that it destroyed 19 Russian unmanned aerial vehicles and one of 59 cruise missiles in just one day. Ukraine's Air Command Eastern units destroyed a Russian F-59 missile in the vicinity of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast at night. On the morning of the 27th of October in Ukraine, it was announced that the units of the Kherson Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade shot down a Russian Ka-52 helicopter, and the units of the Odessa Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade also shot down a Russian Su-25 aircraft. Such losses caused serious defeats for Russia. Ukrainian units, on the other hand, show that they did not want to include Russian military equipment in their country. If the Ukrainian troops, who have continued such successful moves since the beginning of the war, continue in this way, all the efforts of the Russian forces will be in vain. This will make losses inevitable. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that despite Russia's missile attacks on Ukraine, Russia asked the president of Guinea-Bissau to convey his desire to build bridges with Ukraine. In response, Zelensky pointed out to the president that Russia's attacks on Ukrainian territory, saying that if Russia wants to remove the obstacle to relations, it must first remove the obstacles in the Black Sea. Russia was surprised. Russian presidential spokesperson Dmitry Peskov made a statement on this matter. Peskov explained that no specific message was given and that it was never spoken about. Peskov also explained that Putin expressed his willingness to convey this during his talks in Ukraine regarding his stance that Ukraine is blocking the negotiations, despite his willingness to negotiate. It seems that the president of Guinea-Bissau, who shared the previous statements of Russia, has a positive view on the improvement of bilateral relations and the establishment of peace. However, it has been a long time since Russia made such speeches. These conversations became even more difficult after Ukraine's attack on the Crimean Bridge and the massive missile attacks that followed. Russia has clearly shown that it does not have good intentions with its attack on energy infrastructures on Ukrainian territory. Russian forces launched another series of attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure on the night of October 26 to 27. As a result, he inflicted damage on Ukraine. These attacks of Russia also end badly for itself, because while sanctions are imposed on its own country for attacks on every infrastructure, aid to Ukraine is increased and accelerated. Ukrainian State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate, on the other hand, announced that Russia was making illegal construction around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and asked the International Atomic Energy Agency to check it. Oleg Korakov, deputy head of the State Nuclear Regulatory Inspectorate of Ukraine and chief state inspector for nuclear and radiation safety, announced the details of the region. As it is known, the tension does not end because the nuclear facility is located on this front. On the contrary, Russia's continued deployment in the region and its critical statements may trigger many countries to take action at any time. It is also known that many countries are watching Russia closely in this regard. If Russia makes a possible risky move, it may receive a reward from both NATO and the United States. Moreover, as this will widen the scope of the war, it may cause regret for Russia, which does not have many supporters. Konstantin Vorontsov, a senior official of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, explained that if Western commercial satellites are used to help Ukraine, Russia may see these satellites as legitimate targets. It is known that all kinds of aid from countries are of critical importance for countries. At the same time, the steps taken from many countries are very effective in the course of the war. At the same time, as it is known, a grain agreement was signed in Turkey with the United Nations in the past months. On top of that, this hangout flow continues. Within the scope of the Ukraine Grain Initiative, it has been announced that 7 more ships with 102,000 tons of agricultural products have departed from the ports of Chornomorsk and Pivdeny. It was announced that the ships went to Asian, European, and African countries, including the Stella GS bulk carrier with 30,600 tons of corn to Tunisia. Since the grain initiative started on August 1, 397 vessels have reportedly exported 9 million tons of Ukrainian agricultural products from the ports of Greater Odessa to countries in Asia, Europe, and Africa. Ensuring this flow is of great importance for many countries. However, recently, there were statements about Russia's disruption of this flow. If this situation is maintained, the number of Russia's current supporter countries will gradually decrease. If Russia, which already has very few supporters, causes disruption to issues that concern many countries like this, it will cause great problems. Continuing such moves over time will leave Moscow completely alone. Every step to be taken in the coming days has to be taken in line with the strategic plans. Both countries show all their struggle to achieve success. Now each move has become more critical than the previous one. This causes the decisions to be taken by the countries to be more important. In these days when the violence of the war is increasing, we will see how the war will take shape on behalf of the countries. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.